Hi everyone, welcome to PasigoDesign Watercolor Studio, and today I'm going to be doing some little tests or samples of skies, clouds, basically little landscapes that are very simple and are just basically conveying a mood as opposed to giving an awful lot of information about objects. So let's get started. First of all, with skies, what we have to remember is a couple of things. You can have big clouds, or you can have really whimsical shapes in the distance and even close to you, and they don't really have an awful lot of form. But certainly the cumulus clouds are going to have a lot more form, and so they're done differently than the whimsical type sky that we see. And this is the one I'm going to start with at first. I'll be doing a couple more, but for this video, I'm just going to do the one. And what I'm using here is Daniel Smith, Quin Red, Nicolazzo Yellow, and Prussian Blue. Odd colors, you'd say, for a landscape, especially for skies. And yeah, that's fine. Those are pretty much some of my favorite colors, and so I'll just see what they look like in this particular application. Remember, this is a test. It's an opportunity to discover. So I just wet my paper from top to about here, and the reason why I stopped here is because I want to make sure that I give myself a little bit of space for the foreground. So where I stopped is the horizon line, and my colors are laid out here with yellows and reds. I use brushes so you can see. I have the red, the Quin Red over here that I can bring over and dilute on my palette. I can take some of the yellow, it's already diluted over here. I have some fresh color if I need more for each one, and there's my Prussian. So as it's still wet and I'm looking at it, I can tell if it is or not, and I can also tell if I missed a spot or two, and if I did, I can apply the water on top, making sure that I won't have any areas that are missed for this particular exercise. And while it's still wet, I'll start applying the color. So the first color that I have on my brush is yellow, and I will start in the middle of the painting because I'm thinking that I would like to have that yellow really pop in the center. And maybe center side even, it's your choice. And then I'll take some of that pinkish Quin Red color and add some randomly. And even if I pick up a little bit of the yellow and the red together, gives me the orange, it still looks really great. Now, I'm leaving a few white areas. It's always nice to be able to see the white in the sky. And I'll bring a bit more, maybe the red here. You can see I'm using very diluted paints. I'm trying to keep the sky very soft. And I just want to make sure that I don't start putting really deep colors there, because everything is mingling and it's going to look really nice just because of that reason. What I do want to also do is add a little bit of gray, and so I'm picking up some, this is the Prussian Blue. I had it from before there that I'd mixed, but I'll show you from Pure. I take some of the Prussian, and what I'm going to be doing here is mixing my other two colors, which is the yellow, okay, and then the red. Grab some of that soft. Again, not a lot of pigment. I just want a little bit. And what I'm getting here is a really beautiful gray. And I'm just going to drop some of that gray in here. And it's really just to give some interest to the skies. What I'm also going to use this gray for is the horizon line here, and you're going to see how that blends in together. So let's just grab more of that and then start applying some right here. That becomes a little bit of a, like the bushes in front of that, that are closer to us. We can make them a little taller even. That's totally your choice. And what we want to do is make sure that we leave that spot here that I'd already identified as the center of interest. So I'm going to now continue some of that color into the foreground, because the foreground should really reflect some of the colors that are in the sky. So I had some of that yellow, and I'm not actually going to be wetting that too much at this point. I'm just going to pick up these lines here. And I want to make some little separations, little shapes. There isn't any right and wrong here. We're just trying to make a little path from the back to the front. And the colors don't matter too much, except that they should be reflecting the same colors that we've been using all along. And the zigzag is really kind of like a way of kind of making your way towards the front with larger shapes at the front, and making sure that everything is really blending together nicely. So all these shapes touch each other. The sky is touching the ground is coming into the foreground up here at the front, and it's all mingling together. And once all that dries, it becomes very, very cohesive. I'm just going to put a little bit more color here, just to add a little bit touch of the greens here, picking up that blue really, and we'll see how that comes out. This, again, is really a good thing to do every time you want to start a new painting, especially if it's something you've never done before. Just experiment first. Give yourself a chance to learn from how you apply the colors, from how the colors behave, and what the outcome will be. So at this point, I'm just going to probably let that dry. I do see that this is fading already really, really lightly. So I'm going to grab some of that blue, a little bit more of that blue and red, and a bit of that yellow. I'm trying to get a little bit more red, violet, but I don't want it to be a really bright violet. I want it to be a gray violet, so I'm using just the three colors to give me these muted tones. Okay. And over here, adding a little bit of the line here to show the separation. All right. While it is still wet, actually, I can now put some of the ground lines in, and I'm mixing those three colors again very thickly. This is going to go, it gets thicker at the front here just because I want to make some very strong lines, and I just basically want to do a few little lines that show definition of these shapes, these forms, and also it gives me an opportunity to build out something else in the foreground. This is actually starting to dry, so I'm going to try to use my rigger right away. And very dry paint. More red. Okay. So I'm getting a very deep brown here, and I'm just going to be putting those colors up here, like little. Just defining a few odd shapes. They don't have to represent anything other than maybe some little tree areas. And let's do the same thing on this side. Okay. Now we don't have to do too much. It's really just to give some interest. And this is still settling in. Once it's totally settled in, if you want to add more very specific lines, you can still do that. But at this point, I'm not going to do any more. I'll let it sit, and then I'll come back and check it out with you. Okay, I'm back, and this is the first study of this particular little project. And after it's dried, I noticed that I could maybe just add a little bit of color over here to the background. It's really not going to be a lot, but it's really just to show that there's still some shapes back there. They sort of disappeared a little bit more than I wanted them to. There we go. And the wispiness here is good, but I do need a couple of stronger lines as well with my liner. So I'm picking up the color that I had made, which is kind of like purplish color, and I'm just adding a few more lines here. Hard lines, and it's just to give it a little bit of texture at the front. The texture also along the edges here is interesting in a painting, and the mixture of the grays with the oranges and the yellows, the yellow, the red, it just really creates a little bit more atmosphere. And then I feel that there's also a need to have something a little bit longer, because we're always looking for long, medium, and then short. So that I think might be what I would say. You know, that's the end of this. But the sky came out quite interesting, quite soft and nicely mixed with those three colors. So I don't mind that at all. The paper that I used does not have a lot of texture. And I typically would try to do that again with a paper that has more texture, because I think it would create a better interest here in the foreground, and even in the sky. Yeah. All right. So thanks for watching. See you at the next one.